Global Health Catalysts, Catalyzing Cancer Care Research and Education. On behalf of International Phytomedicine Institute and Global Oncology University, we are pleased to welcome you to the 7th lecture in our Farm to Bedside series. This session will focus on promising phytomedicines beyond cannabis. We are honored to be joined by 3 distinguished speakers: His Excellency, Professor Henry Law, Dr. Petule Mahasha, and Dr. Charles Wah. Professor Henry Law is a founder of Cure Biotech Inc. in the USA and adjunct professor at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. He is internationally recognized for his research in drug discovery. He has extensively studied the potential of plant-based compounds to treat chronic diseases, including cancer, diabetes, and viral infections. With a background as a former chairman and CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Jamaica, Dr. Loy holds a PhD in medicinal chemistry from the University of Manchester in the UK, and is a co-author of numerous peer-reviewed articles and holder of 7 patents for his scientific invention. Prof. Loy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lingo. For me, it's an honor and pleasure to be here with you this afternoon to make my presentation. Now, as you can see from the first slide, my contribution is...
Prof, we can see your presentation as yet. Please share.
Okay, let me start again.
Okay, I'll tell you when it's up.
Okay.
Prof will just try to share the presentation, then it's gonna continue.
Yeah, you have to invite you.
Share. I don't know if it's the weather, but we're having this difficulty to share. Can you get the share?
Yes, yes, share screen. Right.
Okay, screen share.
Right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, you can see the screen. I can't see the screen as yet.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find the same presentation and share on your behalf. Maybe it will be...
Yeah, because I hit screen share and it sends me to Zoom, screen broadcast, start broadcast.
We can see the... Did you click on share?
Yes. As I click on share, it'll come up and I say I have screen. Hit the
Then
screen.
you put up the screen, share the screen.
Yeah, that's where I was before, but let me go do that now. Let's go and do that now. Can you see his presentation now on the screen?
No, we can't.
No, let me just try something, because now I have multi-panelists. I'm going to do one panelist at a time, and I'm going to allow him to share. Can you try again now?
Yes.
Because I think...
Okay. Is it working out?
Right, because I hit share screen, but it says everything on your screen, including notifications, will be recorded. Enable not right, and I have screen broadcast, Zoom checked. So it's checked.
Can I try, Flory, can I try and share on the Dr. Flory? Can I try and share, and then I can just navigate as he...
Okay, you can try.
Can you make me a host?
We were there before.
Okay.
Screen.
Okay. I think it should be up in a minute. Okay, there it is. You can start, Pro.
Okay, yeah, it is.
Okay, I
Can
begin.
see the presentation.
Do I begin?
No, I say we can see the presentation now.
Now you can begin.
Okay.
I'll navigate from my side.
You mean change the slides?
Yeah, she'll change it.
Yes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's for me a very great honor and pleasure to be able to make this presentation this afternoon on my vision and the actions I've taken and will be taking for contributions to global health. The focus will be on innovations in oncology, neurodegenerative diseases, and nutraceuticals. And you will understand why this focus is there. We have to...
We need to change the slideshow. Do you know how to do that?
You skip 2 slides.
Okay. I'll go back. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, we are at first slide now. Would you like me to say when to change or?
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Yes, Prof. That will be good.
All right, I'll say next slide and the next slide. Okay, can I start again?
Okay. Yes, you can start.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is for me a great honor and pleasure to be able to join this very distinguished panelist in presenting our various views on global health. I have been asked to make this presentation because of the work I've done in innovations in oncology, neurodegenerative diseases, and nutraceuticals. And I have been able to do this through 5 companies that I've created. One is called Educational Scientific. Next one, Flavor Cure, which is the flagship company, and you'll understand why afterwards. And LTN Pharma. These were developed in the United States, while Biotech R&D Institute and Medicanja were developed in Jamaica. And the 5 companies have worked cooperatively over the last 14 years to develop the products and processes that one can see. And I gotta give special thanks to Dr. Enge Toyang, who has worked with me for the last 12 years in getting to where we are. In the next slide, the title is Scientific Legacy and Impact. What I've really done here is to show the extent of the linkages and the support, the interactions with government agencies, the universities, and they have not really been outlined in any detail, but as you can see, I've done 130 odd publications in my work, plus I've got 12 patents so far, and there are at least another 10 which are pending. So it has been over 50 odd years of research and development and collaboration which have allowed this to happen. And especially for someone like me coming from the developing world. And I presume that this is one of the reasons why I was asked to make this presentation, because it is a little bit unique for the work and the extent of the work and collaboration which has been done by me over the years. In the next slide, I want to point out here that we are faced with a global crisis. in various areas of healthcare. But the ones that I have recognized and have done work on are cancers and neurodegenerative diseases. And as you'll see from what I've pointed out down below, all these work, or I should say all these diseases, cancers and neurodegenerative diseases, require action. For, among other reasons, the rise in cancers among young adults, which is continuing we have seen continuing over the years. And we have noted that neuro diseases have been increasing at a major rate and will be doubled by 2040. And then we have a lot of late-stage diagnostics, which have been coming to vision. And the cost of healthcare is escalating, billions of dollars each year. And this is particularly severe in its impact on low-income countries. And this is of special concern to me as a person from the developing world. In the next slide, what I've done here is to just identify the companies again and at a high level point out their focus and not what they have achieved so far, but their focus. FlavorCure is what I regard as a flagship company of the group of companies. And it has focused mainly on brain cancer and pancreatic cancer. And much of the work, which I will highlight later on, and achievements is built around FlavorCure. And then, of course, apart from oncology, there's neurology or neurodegenerative diseases, which have been highlighted by Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Though relatively new in the work, we have some major new developments and achievements, which I'll touch on as we go on later on. And I say we'll touch on because each aspect of this could take an entire lecture. So whatever we can't answer or deal with, we can have questions sent in and I'll be quite happy to deal with them later. I just thought I would mention that. And then the next company is educational and scientific, which focuses on melanoma. And it's a big deal for people of European descent, but also growing rapidly among the Black populations of the world. And we are in the midst of doing some work which is showing great progress. And then we've got LTN Pharma, which focuses on, at this time, on prostate cancer, which is a major, major problem in the developing world. And I think if anybody wants any further details, we can get that later. And then I come to my pet area, which is Biotech R&D Institute and Medicanger, which were developed in Jamaica. And their focus has been on oncology, metabolic diseases, and pain and inflammation. And we will be able to show later on some of the products that have been made, mainly as nutraceuticals, since they are not in the formal drug development sphere. In the next slide, FlavorCure, as I told you, is a flagship company. It has done all the cutting edge science and technology research. And it has done a lot of this work through nanotechnology. And I refer to the nanocaflanone platform because caflanone is the drug which was developed from cannabis. And we have done a tremendous amount of work in moving this drug forward. And we're looking at a major success story as we evolve. We have a diagnostic variant, which is self-evident, treatment variant, and a very interesting, if not novel, variant, which is the nanocaflanone being able to identify the cancer at the point where the surgeon need to operate with cancer. So all these three areas are really exciting, novel, and interesting. And they bring high-tech innovations to some of the most challenging healthcare needs. In the next slide, I'll say a little bit more about caflanone and FlavorCure. Nanocaflanone, which I referred to before as the lead drug in FlavorCure, it has a number of potential applications which go very far in terms of healthcare now and in the future, which is enhanced drug delivery in cancer therapy, enhanced drug delivery in neurology, and anti-inflammatory therapeutics, and nano encapsulation for better bioavailability and stability, which is a very, very important issue, especially when one is dealing with plant-derived products. We go to the next slide. And Educational and Scientific, which is the next company, which does joint projects with the University of Maryland in Baltimore. And its focus is on rare cancers and neuro diseases. And I will be saying more about this later. But two of the outputs from the rare cancers will be mentioned in later on, which are the orphan drugs and the PRV potential, which holds major, major promise for financial returns on the research that is being done. And if we can move on to the next slide, we have LTN Pharma, which is the other company based in the United States, and it's
she does it.
I had a image on the left-hand side. I was trying to see if I could bring it up, but apparently it's not. But anyway, we have a product called galaterone, which is its lead molecule. And it's licensed from the University of Maryland in Baltimore. And its intended use for the treatment of metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer. It's a big deal because that is what has been destroying, shortening the lives of so many persons, especially Black males. And it has been identified as an androgen receptor blocker. and it has potential for other AR-driven cancers, including bladder cancer. Fantastic story behind this. It was taken as far as phase 3 in the clinical trials, but for reasons I won't go into at this stage, it was stopped, and we developed the hydrochloride, which is a salt of the basic galateron, which has shown significantly greater bioactivity than the basic galateron. And this is where we are focused now. And this is really a fantastic new development that ourselves and the University of Maryland in Baltimore are working on. In the next slide, right. I come to the two companies in Jamaica, Biotech R&D Institute and Medicanja. These two companies have been developed using minimum technology and have produced maximum results from the work. Using Jamaican-based plants and Jamaican-based scientists and facilities. And the two companies have allowed us to build out a lot of new data, products, and processes on cannabis, and it has given Jamaica a lead position as the company or the country which has done perhaps most, definitely as a developing country, in the development of medical cannabis. So Jamaica is so recognized as a result of Medicanja. You can read about this online, and I won't have to say any more at this stage. However, behind Medicanja is Biotech R&D Institute, which is a scientific base of this, which is located at the University of the West Indies in Mona, Jamaica. And it has produced a variety of nutraceutical products, which are one of a kind and first of the kind, not only in the Caribbean, but in other developing countries throughout the world. We're all very proud of its achievements and what it has done. And if you go online, you can also read up about these and see what has been done. But I just highlight the fact that 12 of the products developed by biotech have been approved by the Ministry of Health and are being sold internationally, including in the United States, for a variety of purposes. And we'll see some of these identified later on. I need to point out that of the 20-odd products that we have developed so far, about half of them are cannabis-based and another half are non-cannabis-based. And the Biotech R&D Institute has shown leadership in this. And we have got targets, diabetes, cancer, inflammation, and palliative care, which have been outcomes of the research. The next slide, and I'll be very quick about this, you'll see there that we feel that our work has rekindled hope in what cannabis can do for a variety of problems that people have, and not only in cancers, but also in neurology or neurological diseases. It's there simply outlined. I know I'm near the end of my presentation, so hopefully you can get these slides and you can look at them and see exactly what can be done afterwards. In the next slide, show here is some of the products that we have made. We have, like, for example, a porridge mix, which is done from local products. We have a variety of teas, which people will swear by as being useful. We have products developed for fibroids and strength and so on. And we have identified 2 of the 8 products which have been developed from cannabis. So all this you can find online on the Mediganja and Biotech. Next slide. All this work has got to have scientific and regulatory stamp of approval, as it were, and especially the formal drugs. And we have got 2 FDA orphan drug designation, 1 rare pediatric disease designation, 1 IND, and we're working collaboratively with Johns Hopkins and Baylor universities at this time. And more can be said about this later. Next slide. When all is said and done, in today's world, it's more about creating wealth from the research. What we have been able to do, add new information for academia, but we're also trying to get our whatever we can in terms of funding. And as you can see, we are looking at a PRV of 100 million, licensing potential of 40 million, IPO, and somewhere between 226 and 480 million by 2030, which is not far away. Again, if anybody has got questions or suggestions, we're glad to know. In the next slide, just by way of takeaways, there's urgent global health needs being addressed by us, myself, our collaborators, and partners. We have used plant-based powered innovation. And and we have got significant multiple revenue streams which have been identified, and we have strong leadership and collaboration. The next slide. I want to thank a number of persons who have been involved with us. Not all of them have been identified there, but if you like this presentation and if you like the challenge and the imagination you see, join the vision and the innovation of a major healthcare breakthrough and direction, which has been achieved through creativity, sacrifice, and dedication to a better future for mankind. My slogan for my work is, "It can be done." Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great presentation. Let us move to the next presenter. Dr. Mahasha, please, would you share your presentation as I introduce you? So, as I said, our next presenter is going to be Dr. Petule Mahasha. He is a researcher with over 20 years of experience in critical health areas, including cancer, HIV, TB, and precision medicines. Since 2019, he has served as the South African Medical Research Council overseeing precision medicine portfolio and strategic projects in indigenous knowledge system and African traditional medicine. His extensive background includes senior role in NGO rights to care, where he managed large-scale USAID funded public healthcare projects across 17 countries, focusing on HIV, self-testing, pre-exposure, and hepatitis C. Dr. Masha also holds a significant advisory position, currently serving at the Global Burden of Diseases Collaborator Network and the South African Council of Natural Scientific Profession. Dr. Mahacha, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this important session that has been going on today. I believe you have said is the 7th one. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. I just will ask you to ignore my title a little bit. I know it's more, I was leaning so much in talking about cannabis and the situation of cannabis in South Africa today. But in the main, I'm going to speak to you about the status of the clinical trials in South Africa that have taken place in HIV research, but a little bit as to where do we stand when it comes to cannabis clinical trials in South Africa. So basically, just as a point of departure, there have been a lot of clinical trials that have taken place in South Africa. I've just put as much information as you can see, more so recognizing that a lot of you are outside of the continent who are part of the sessions and the country, so that when these slides are shared, at least you can appreciate by going through them. So there have been a lot of clinical trials that have taken place on HIV in South Africa. One of them is the lenacapavir, which was a twice yearly injectable PrEP that has shown remarkable efficacy at the time when this trial had taken place in our country. Basically, the results of this had really shown the significance of lenacapavir innovation for HIV prevention in high-risk African populations. And as you can appreciate, there's been a lot of those that have taken place. There've been immunotherapy and pediatric HIV research, where groundbreaking observations in South Africa revealed that some children who begin ART within 6 months of birth can maintain viral remission of ART, suggesting pathways towards functional cures. And there's also building on this current clinical trials that are evaluating therapies like broadly neutralizing antibodies. A lot of work has been done at the NICD on this by researchers in collaboration with researchers at different institutions in our country. So plenty of work basically has been taking place with a lot of progress basically. And we're thankful to all the funders and the government on this. And there've been so plenty of them, as I've said, as I just want to present the background of how many clinical trials or how many are ongoing in our shores. There is then the REVIVE trial, the Empower 022, the PrEP-VAC, the HPTN 084. And all of these trials have taken place within our shores, and they have shown a lot of great progress with some of the studies having taken place in other African countries. So plenty of work has been done, and it's continuing to be done to try to curb this disease that has been a problem for the continent for the longest time. Moving forward, other clinical trials and implementation programs that have taken place include the Palisade PEP antibody trial, which is a phase 1, phase 2 study assessing safety and pharmacokinetics of subcutaneous broadly neutralizing monoclonal antibodies in HIV-exposed neonates and infants. This study was completed in December of 2023 with the results that were very much promising as well. Additional trials were taking place at Vets University, which included pediatric ART pharmacokinetic studies and interventions to improve PrEP adherence among women in the Eastern Cape. Then all of this obviously have to be regulated, because my interest was just touching, considering the broader guiding topic of the discussions here, even though specifically I was asked to speak to the clinical trials in South Africa. I just thought I mentioned this so that before I move into the cannabis part of my talk. But at the end of the day, we require regulatory oversight, and SAHPRA is the organization that is responsible for that in South Africa. And obviously, these clinical trials have to be registered with our South African National Clinical Trial Registry, and at a continental level as well with PACTRI. So now, just focusing more on what the discussion is about in relation to cannabis. I've just gone back to just look at what has been done to date. More so, are there any clinical trials that are done? What kind of work has been focused on in South Africa when it comes to cannabis? So plenty of work it's been done currently, post our government approving that cannabis should be now used, though responsibly. And one of the questions that I asked there was, what are the most promising medicinal applications of cannabis for South Africa's healthcare system? And you can see there that there's been a lot of interest in chronic pain management, where cannabis is being used, as well as in epilepsy, where it has been used, and it's shown to help people who are suffering from epilepsy. And then the other thing is in mental health, where cannabis is being explored for treating anxiety, PTSD, and depression. But the one that is of importance in relation to the topic for me was when it comes to HIV symptom relief. And cannabis has been seen in some of the studies that have been done, though anecdotally, that it helps to manage symptoms like appetite loss, nausea, chronic pain associated with HIV and AIDS. So, which we all know, it's a serious issue in South Africa. But what clinical trials show on cannabis globally? There's been studies that have been done on HIV, associated neuropathic pain, 2 randomized placebo-controlled trials that have shown some great progress there. And then there's been other studies on oral cannabinoids, a small open label pilot that was done in people living with HIV on stable ART, found that oral cannabinoids were generally safe or tolerable, and it was not really powered by efficacy outcomes. And there are basically at a global level ongoing studies that are taking place. And we hope that this can as well provide clarity as to what role does really cannabis play, in a way that we can have data published for us to be able to reference and see how the studies were conducted and the results that they would have then arrived at the end of that. Obviously, there is a lot of data that it's out there when it comes to cannabis, just to prove the medicinal impact of cannabis. For so long, it's been labeled to be a bad plant to use. But I think with the research that has been taking place, especially in HIV, AIDS symptom management, in chronic pain and epilepsy, in mental health and treatment, mental health treatment, as I've shown in the previous slides, I think there's a lot of progress there. at a global level, the studies that have been done. But locally, as it relates to South Africa's situation, there are no completed published South African-based interventional trials on cannabinoids, specifically in people living with HIV. The South African Medical Research Council identified HIV-associated neuropathic pain as a priority indication for a local cannabinoid trial, given South Africa's burden and limited efficacy of standard neuropathic pain agents. So this is something where now researchers in the country are focusing to try to see the impact of that. And as I've said previously, there are regulatory issues, not only on the HIV side of things, as you have heard Dr. Tender say. I'm also involved in the IKS space. We're struggling as well with that, but we are getting there in a way that we can get support from the regulatory agencies to be able to conduct different clinical trials where we can use even medicinal plants, not cannabis, but others, to see how effective they are against different diseases, inclusive of HIV. And I've been lucky to manage actually projects that are based on IKS that have shown great progress in my previous employment with the South African Medical Research Council. Hopefully those studies will continue to show great data that they were showing at the time when I was associating, to prove that indeed we can benefit from nature to curb these diseases that have been a problem for generations. So what are the practical takeaways? So there's been studies that have been done, as I've mentioned, and I'm just going about this and trying to save time in the process as well, considering how we were delayed in the start. But this is just basically what I would like all of you to know, that as it relates to cannabis, there are studies that have been done that have taken place in our country, and they are showing a lot of progress in relation to the safety, where common adverse events such as dizziness, sedation, cognitive effects, caution, with psychosis history, and cardiovascular diseases, and pregnancy, in people who are HIV and P reported no serious adverse events. And that, I think, it's a good thing to look at and try to continue with more studies. And I think South Africa in this case, having looked at the data that exist, yes, there's one that was done by Dr. Gallo, but it wasn't on HIV, it was on something else. And we still are waiting data in relation to that holistically to see how far their work really goes in relation to showing the impact of cannabis on opioids patient. And I think in that study, the pilot that they did, it showed that over 90% of those participants had shown great improvements and were kind of weaned off opioids and not suffering in the process after they were taking cannabis. So there is great progress with cannabis. And I think as the main title of this discussions, it's about moving patients away from the bad and basically use cannabis as a tool to get that as an achievement. I believe going forward, more work that can focus on cannabis can help bring solutions as we really need to use every tool that we can get to try to see how best can we fight these different diseases, HIV included, and other diseases as well. So in a nutshell, when it relates to cannabis specifically, as I've said in my previous slide, one trial which was at the time and still is noted to be the first ever medicinal cannabis clinical trial in South Africa, which ended in September of 2023, investigated the replacement of opioids with medicinal cannabis for chronic pain. And in this pilot study, where around 308 at the time patients were recruited, they noted that 93% of patients were weaned off opioids within a period of 6 months. And patients showed improved quality of life, less pain, and improved sleep. So there is potential there, but one notes that more work still needs to be done, more clinical trials needs to be done to really ascertain the role that cannabis plays, not only on this study, but on other diseases as well, to help clarify in a way that we can be able to validate if indeed cannabis is playing a role with data that will prove that really caps these different challenges that people come across and experience, and diseases such as HIV and TBs and others. Just yesterday, I was in a meeting with colleagues who have been working on cannabis for a while, discussing the potential projects that we would like to pursue moving forward, because they have been seeing great progress with patients that have been taking this to curb whatever challenges that they have with different kinds of diseases. So I guess as I get to wrap up, one can just say we need more support in this country to continue to conduct as much as the support was given to treat HIV. And I think now on the IKS space, to use natural medicines like cannabis and others that are out there, to try to see how we can use them. And one of the arguments that I always make is, especially African people, most of us did not grow with medical aids in our hands. And generally, the elders at the time, whenever one was sick, they will just go behind the house. There will be a plant that they would have planted out there, which they knew what to use for when somebody was suffering from whichever form of disease that they might have had. And because of that, many of us are still alive until we go to a point where medical aids are part of our lives, Western kind of medications are part of our lives. But generally, the point that I'm trying to make is that IKS has been part of our lives for generations. And somehow we kind of have decided to ignore it. And I think it's time that support is granted to that, so that more work can be done, including cannabis studies and trials that can prove the effectiveness of cannabis against different diseases. Having said that, despite growing anecdotal evidence in South Africa, there is still a lack of comprehensive clinical trials to verify the safety and efficacy of cannabis treatments. And as I've just said, I think more attention needs to be given to that. Not only cannabis, but other medicinal plants that the knowledge holders that have been for generations. As if you don't know, I guess most of you don't know this, but between 60 and 80% of South Africans, when they are not well, actually their first option is not a Western hospital, but they consult traditional practitioners. And if anybody wants to say, maybe just trying to be controversial a bit about that point, if someone wants to say really there is some danger with natural medicines that these people generally get advised to use, why is the population of the country not going down but up, when you find between 60 and 80% their first contact when they need help, when they're not well, it's not a Western hospital, but traditional practitioner. So there is something there that is working, and I believe it will only help, as it was narrated very much well by the speaker on the work that he has done in the Caribbean, that we need just to get the support that we require to help move things forward that can benefit everybody around the world. With that, I would like to thank all of you for your attention and looking forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mahasha. Without wasting time, I want to invite, if you could take your slides down. I want to invite Dr. Charlie Hua to come, and as I introduce you, could you please upload your slides, share your slides with us. Dr. Charlie is a renewed clinician and researcher who specializes in functional medicine, restorative medicine, epigenetics, and genomics. He is best known for creating high-performance precision wellness program for Fortune 500 companies, top CEO and professional athletes and entertainers. His expertise stems from senior leadership roles, including former senior VP of Biologics and director of major US health and beauty company. Dr. Wa has a unique talent for simplifying complex scientific concept into actionable advice, helping his clients optimize their health and regain control of their well-being. He also serves as the U.S. representative for National Coalition for Good Governance of Nigeria. Welcome, Dr. Wa. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And you can see my slides, correct?
Yes, Pam.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. It is definitely a pleasure and an honor to be on this panel today with some very distinguished individuals that I am marveling at right now. So to have to follow those two individuals is quite a task. So thank you so much for this. As the presenter said, I'm Dr. Charlie Ware. But part of my role is to help individuals understand natural medicine and phytomedicine. So today I'm gonna talk about and discuss what phytomedicine is, what phytomedicine research has gone, and how far have we come in the future of phytomedicine itself. So I'll start. What is phytomedicine? I mean, Dr. Lowe and also Dr. Marriage have given some great background as to how far you can take phytomedicine and some of the phenomenal things and partnerships that can actually come out of it. But what is it really? Phytomedicine, of course, is plant-derived medicine. However, what goes deeper in trying to help individuals really understand how these plants are really working is they interact on epigenetic mechanisms like DNA methylation and histamine modulation as well to regulate gene expression and combat disease such as cancer and chronic inflammation as well. There are approximately 13,000 medicinal plants being studied today. So to put that in relation is very, very simple. It is looking at as soon as CRISPR just decoded our DNA, the next thing for them to do was really to look at what were plants doing for us and how we were really living. And this is one reason why we know that the DNA of plants and also the DNA of humans have a kinship that cannot be broken. And is well known that, as we always say, plants are our first line of medicine. Is written in the Bible, but also from just all of our studies, we've seen that plants or different herbal combinations has been able to do the same actions, if not better actions, than a lot of the synthetic medications that's on the market today. And also, along with that, less side effects and also long-lasting, what we call recovery rates as well. So let's explore some of those things. So in phytomedical research, we're looking at different signaling pathways, protein-to-protein interaction, and also definitely the epigenetic influences. The signaling pathways are really, when we're looking at a cancer driven research and also drug manufacturing, we're trying to really figure out, hey, like what signaling pathways are we trying to affect with certain cancers? And we know that every cancer has a different pathway. That's why they're all unique. And also they have a different protein to protein interaction. And what are our epigenetics really looking at from a term of being able to treat and how they're really changing? So if we look at the signaling pathways, typically we're looking at autopsis and a proliferation of these things. And yes, we know that there are natural compounds that can induce, cell cycle arrest, apoptosis, and also the resistance of cancer cell growth and also spread. As far as like inflammation, we're looking at different phytochemicals that have Withonia, Samia, can modulate inflammatory pathways such as NF gamma and as well as JAK and STAT with driven tumor progression as well. So I'm bringing up some of these pathways because of the fact that we know that there are specific, now I'll show you later on, where there are specific aspects of these, we call them herbs or phyto medicines that can actually be not just manufactured, but also show to have a true epigenetic and genetic profound effect on the actual body when we're talking about cancer and also chronic disease as well. I'm just to take a side note, and really, this is where a lot of times when we are looking at, either manufacturing drugs or even discussing cancers, this is where we call them, the Western medicine and also Eastern medicine start to really collide because the biggest, I say, concern for me with most individuals who are all, very, very Western minded as far as like looking at phytonutrients and phytomedicine is the fact that they always say, well, we can't really predict what most of these natural medicines are going to do because there's such a systemic effect on the body. And then the reason why I love, getting into the research of showing how these cascades actually happen inside the body is to show that the same medicines that you're trying to actually produce, these same herbs and phytomedicines are doing the same processes, yet there's less side effects. So it's really, as I always say, it's a button of the heads of the minds to have individuals understand what's really going on inside the body as well. And then we look at metabolism. We know that there are specific phytochemicals that can target, AMPK pathways influencing cancer cell metabolism, affecting the energy production and the mitochondrial biogenesis as well. As for our stem cells, I mean, stem cells, this is a phenomenal area when we actually are looking at, using phytomedicine as well. It's critical for the maintenance and the function of, cancer stem cells. It's the root cause of most tumor growth as well. And when we look at plant medicine, we find a slew of different, phytochemicals that's been shown to actually reduce this and actually really arrest this entire process. Cycling cascades, such as the P13K, the mTOR, the MAPK pathways. Well, these are some of the most frequent pathways that are being addressed. And I'm going to show later on how all these signaling processes are being used with phytomedicine as well. So some of the phytomedicine roles in signaling is really the alkaloids and the polysaccharides, the flavonoids, and also, as Dr. Lloyd said, this is his area of expertise. This is what he's really looking at, and how he's starting to, I don't use the term manipulate, but really manipulate, the different natural chemicals to arrest and also kill cancer and other inflammatory diseases as well. So it's such it was a great presentation that he gave. So it just gave my presentation like a foundational piece. So thank you for that and all the work you were doing. But at the same token, make no bones about it. I tell my patients all the time, the more, phytomedicine that you can ingest through just having just natural herbs and things there. So even just drinking teas, you're giving yourself a better outlook on having better health than not doing anything at all. We know ultra processed foods is just full of inflammation, but just by having these flavonoids and also having these alkaloids and polysaccharides in your body, you're going to be able to even thwart a lot of the cancer producing chemicals inside the body, because a lot of these things are anti-inflammatory. They are, resistance to a lot of the cancer pathway production as well. So it's beautiful. Protein to protein interaction. Now, this is really a critical aspect to when we're looking at not just cellular processes, but also the sickling, the folding, and also the transport. If we are able to actually get the genes to really calm themselves down and stop really over methylating, and methylate basically means that's the signaling or that's the messaging from our genes. If we can get that to calm down, I say a ton, we're able to really control the genetic expression going back to the proper avenues, especially when we look at the TNF factors, the COMT, and also the MTHFR4 gene as well. When you're able to calm those down, really using plant medicine, we've seen in a lot of clinical studies where just by doing these basic things right there, the protein interaction is able to really fall back in line and it creates an anti-inflammatory effect. And these genes tend to lie dormant a lot longer as well. So here's just a graphic of just the interaction with very simple. We did ginseng and also we did astragalus, and they're both as far as GR and also AR. So we're looking at just one of the main symptoms of just a generalized cancer, which is we call cancer-related fatigue, right? So in this study, what we were looking at was just really targeting essentially how just ginseng itself, ginseng is supposed to be a phenomenal energy production, mitochondrial boosting substance because of the genosol and alkaloid inside of it as well. But we also were looking at the astragalus as well. Again, astragalus has a lot of great, flavonoids inside of it that are supposed to be good for boosting energy as well as immunity and things of that sort. So the database we drew from was just essentially how are these things really coming together and making sure that they're going to work synergistically. So we also looked at the protein to protein interaction via a network comparison and shown how when you start to overlap these things, the synergy that starts to happen is very evident, where the side effects are now going to be thwarted, as well as allowing the actual flavonoids and the proteins to really express themselves fully and functionally as well. And then the last part of it, hopefully you guys can see this because it was a bad download. I apologize. Was really looking at the metabolic network comparison. And when we were looking at the different genes that were being modulated, again, the mTOR and things of that sort, we're seeing how all of these genes are just lighting up, really calming themselves down, creating a healing environment inside the body as well. Thus, again, proving just the power of phytomedicine just with two simple compounds added together. They were first we saw the study separate, but then when they combined together, just the action was throughout it. It went through the roof. So I was very impressed with this. All right. Phytomedicine and the epigenetic interaction. So it provides a potential link between the genetic expression change that may be involved in the development of various chronic diseases. The research has discovered epigenetic modification capacity of herbal medicine, ability to combat the progression of disease such as, again, cancer, diabetes, inflammation, amnesia, and liver fibrosis, and a ton of others. We're talking about diabetes. We're talking about, just so many other conditions that when we're looking at really the epigenetic expression, and the reason why we're saying the epigenetic expression, that's the area where we can make the most impact. Who don't understand this aspect, think about the reason why most women who are pregnant, we prescribe them folic acid. We do that because we see how, from a genetic cascade, the brainstem inside the fetus was either being underdeveloped or being overdeveloped in some cases because of the lack thereof or the over consumption of folic acid. So they were able to really have a connection when it comes to that. Same thing when we're looking at even taking something as simple as magnesium or even iodine in some kids. There's a study that showed that even taking iodine, this was a Japanese study, the Japanese mean IQ was 20 points higher than those of the counterpart in Norway who did not take any iodine as well. So it was directly related to the taking of the iodine as well. So it's some great aspects when we look at how we can really change the body from epigenetic standpoint. So the impact of herbal medicine and the bioactive components of disease and epigenome is massive. This is where we're looking at even CRISPR and some of these other innovations are really honing in on just this area right here. So before the condition can even become a problem, are able to thwart it early on as well. So this is when I started to go a little crazy with trying to show you guys and explain to you guys some of the things, and some of this is back to basic genetics from some of you guys, but at the same token, when we're looking at it, just the histone itself, we're looking at all the chemicals that can make a positive impact on these genes, right? Either upregulating, downregulating these things so you can have the mechanization, the cellulization, the phosphorylation, and the ubiquitization as well. All these things are about opening, closing, and also making sure that this histone is actually able to express its full potential or lack thereof. So we'll take a simple substance as is rosemary. In rosemary, the active ingredient that is called rosenol. Rosenol has been shown to actually just stimulate the actual histone into a way being able to block certain breast cancer tumors as well. Just that one thing, just having a rosemary oil, affect the skin in such a way, and all these cascades will start to happen. So it's just a direct effect to show that, one chemical can do so many different things inside the body, and we just are now still trying to harness the ability of phytonutrients. And when we look at synthetic materials as pharmaceuticals or even some supplements, because most supplements are still artificially made, we're looking at how that's negatively impacting this histone. It may do a few of these processes, but when we're looking at the phyto medicine, it's doing more of I say, a regulation of the actual gene than any other substance in the world as well. So it's phenomenal. So the research, and I think we're just scratching the surface of what we can and can't do as well. And here are just some, I mean, this is a few of the epigenetic things we've seen with herbal use. So the first one is actually licorice. I mean, something as little as licorice. Now, I'm not saying the licorice you get from the store, but it's the actual licorice root. I mean, just the cascade of events that actually happens, but the end results that it induces cell cycle arrest and apoptosis. That's amazing. The third one, is actually a derivative of curcumin as well. And again, downregulation the expression of the oncogenes and things of that sort. So I mean, it's the research is out there that shows that when you're looking at what a phytomedicine can really do from an epigenetic standpoint, it is limitless. In my opinion, back to what we've been saying the entire time is really about the funding. It's really about how fast can we bring some of these things to the market and show the power of phytomedicine versus the limitations and things of that sort. And I'm actually thrilled that Dr. Lowe actually has some orphan drug stances here in the U.S. as well. So how far have we come? The use of the angiofly is in the rosemary and in baseline are potential phytomedicines for the colorectal treatments through the modulation of the TLR4 signaling pathway. That study just came out. I mean, I know we knew about this pathway for a while, but this study just came out a month and a half ago. It's been repeated many different times, but it's just a lot of great research showing how it just protects the mucosal layer as well. The recent events suggest that the phytomedicine in the components may possibly impact the immune system. When we're looking at the dendritic cells as well, phytomedicine effect on the immunobiological feature of the dendritic cells, emphasizes an anti-tumor effect in the phytomedicine treated dendritic cells. Basically means that dendritic cells, these are a lot of the immune reaching out cells. So when we're having a direct effect, and now we are able to see this direct effect, and this study just came out in July actually, we're able to see that phytomedicine is having a place inside of medicine phenomenally. And then back to I'm giving kudos to Dr. Lowe as well, because he was one of the first ones probably to show that plant-derived exosome-like nanovessels are small nanoscale vessels containing lipids, RNA proteins, and some of the same plant proteins secreted by plant cells. So these right here are still a hotspot showing that these are in phytomedicines, and we can use these as a bridge for cancers, for chronic disease, and things of that sort. Especially with the RNA factors in there, meaning that we can actually do some great nanoscale, pre-modulation of disease and early detection of disease and things like that. So just by understanding how this phytomedicine is working, our diagnostic tools are going to get so much better. And this is just a quick study of a comparison of how different phytomedicines have been paired with medicine. These are all, chemotherapy treatments, showing how in every stage, when you compare a medicine, a Western medicine with a phytomedicine or an herbal compound, every one of the actual studies, everyone actually had better results and less side effects as well. So it even has a great stance when you're combining it with Western medicine. It's going to protect the body. And I think it's a thing that, we aren't understanding. These herbs and this phytomedicine is designed to really protect the body from disease. So if you're going to start combining it with different medicines, you're going to have a long lasting effect, and throwing off a lot of the side effects to the Western medicine as well. And I say the future is here, God. I mean, guys, the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer, the MD Anderson, the Vassar University, all these universities, I've named have had, phytomedicine programs, some since 1995, studying phytomedicines, and also getting these things patented or doing more research on, bioactive nutrients from said, phytomedicine as well. And if you're looking at, the future, we're looking at AI-assisted brain cancer detection rates. Guess what they're using? They're using those same dendrites I was just talking about to actually help detect these things faster. CRISPR is using these tools, over and over and over again. And again, a lot of this stuff is being based in the phytomedicine realm and how the body is basically detecting these things back and forth. So the future is definitely here, and is looking brighter. Again, is going back to what we all keep saying is really about the funding and being focused on, our lanes of study, whether it be with cancer or in my realm, I'm very, very big in the sickle cell space, is really about the funding and also making sure that people are understanding phytomedicine is here to stay. Right now, we have over 500 different medications that's been directly derived from phytomedicine, and the number just continue to grow over and over and over again. I think there are over right now 2,500 plus different medicines derived from phytomedicine that are being clinically trialed, and that number can be even larger than that with the proper funding as well. So, there's a lot of efficacy with phytomedicine, and again, in virtually almost every study, when we use phytomedicine, there's little to no side effect, or if the side effect is there, it's because of the combination with a lot of the actual medicines too. So that is my spiel for today, guys. I just want to give you guys a rundown of what phytomedicine really was and how, it can really affect the body, and just the depth of how it really affects the body. So if anybody wants to reach out to me or have these slides, you can always reach out to me to any of these outlets. And I thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the brilliant presentation. I would ask all the panelists if you could just make your face seen so that we can answer these questions that are coming in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The first question, I think it goes to Prof. Lowe. Is nanoflavonoid and nanoparticle-based phytomedicine? How do you deal with bioavailability issues? Is Prof still there?
He might have gone off.
Go ahead.
Is he here?
You are on.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I was gonna answer it for him because I get that same question all the time. How do we deal with bioavailability? But I see Professor Lowe is there.
There.
Would you like to address it?
No,
Let's
sir.
hear you.
No, they asked
Let's
you
hear you.
directly. They asked you directly. So I want to hear your response because I'm very, very impressed by you. So thank you so much.
Bioavailability is always a major problem when it comes to plant medicines.
Yeah.
Whether at its crude level or at the drug level.
Mhm.
And what is important about the nanotechnology is that you can use smaller quantities of the drug,
Mhm.
and it can be delivered directly to the site, and it can also have its major impact without at the site, close to the site or at the site, without going through all of the areas of the body, particularly the liver, because you know the liver breaks things down. And if you can get your drug directly to the site of where the problem is, then you're well away. I don't know if I've answered you.
If I can actually add to that as well, is part of what we developed here with my company was a patent process of how we are actually extracting a lot of these chemicals as well. Is to I don't want to explain the process too much as patented, but once we learn how to like extract them from the drying process, because I think a lot of the research that had been done, the bioavailability was, using the fresh aspect of these plants. But what we learned when once we were able to dry them properly and retain all of their vital oils as well as all their as many phytochemicals, you're able to now have a higher ratio of availability, and how you were able to basically extract those, whether it be alcohol based or water based and things of that sort as well. That gave us the ability for the body to accept it in a different way. It was a weird action, but I'll explain that like later on as well. It was a weird action.
Yeah, so I get it would be synergistic, right? So you will find, for instance, that with cannabinoids, a single isolate is not always better than the whole extract. You also tend, with singular compounds, the so-called silver bullet, you also tend to have more side effects because you're more likely to go over the therapeutic window. So that's why, in a sense, herbal extracts or multi-component extracts are better. And then, of course, I mean, that's what the HIV people did, isn't it? They came through and they have combination therapies, because if you want to reduce resistance developing, then it's better to actually use a combo, which is what traditional healers have been using all this time.
Yes.
Now, going to the second question. Are these phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trials in South Africa? Are there phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trials in South Africa? I think that will go to either Dr. Mahasha. You're the one who talked about clinical trials. Anybody can answer, really.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. The clinical trials are at different stages, obviously. There will be those that begin. There was one that was supposed to have started, but then the US government intervened and it had to shut up, the brilliant one, which had plus minus 45 million support of funding. But all of these different trials are at different stages, and phase ones will be there as well, depending on the time when the project has started to start the trial of that project.
Okay.
Maybe I could just add that as well. I'm also in South Africa. I think I've mentioned it before that I think the stumbling block also has been like ethics approvals as well, because we had started one with Stellenbosch University, but we just seem to have stalled a bit because of ethics, and then also with the regulatory authority, the dossiers as well that we've got to submit to them to be able to start these clinical trials. But we're looking at countries like Zimbabwe as well, they're forthcoming. So hopefully with the professors that are on board now, perhaps we could explore collaborative, we can collaborate with them. I'm actually in South Africa and I'm a cultivator and I'm also a medical person. So I'm looking forward to collaborating with them. So perhaps we could use the platform on between the 19th and the 21st at Harvard as we convene our phytomedicine program So I'm hoping that I'll be seeing most of them there, and then we can have some side meetings. And certainly with Prof. Law, we've always met, and it's nice to see other professors. And thank you so much for everything. I mean, this is amazing. Collaboration. Let's collaborate.
Good.
Oh,
Good.
Thank you very much. But just to say something, if the question was about plant medicine or specific to cannabis, obviously, as I've said earlier, the Dr. Gallo study was basically the first one that was conducting clinical trials on cannabis, and I think Prof. Katera responded as to when that paper will be coming out to report on the data that was generated.
Yeah. So if I may, if I may just add something, I think sometimes the problem is that the regulators are looking at phytomedicine through the lens of pharmaceutics, and pharmaceutical science. So, for instance, in South Africa and in a lot of other places, the regulator would want this material to be, the investigational material, to be manufactured in a GMP facility. Now, the question is, how many herbal pharmaceutical companies do we even have? And how many of them are GMP compliant, right? So it's like, you have this round hole and you're trying to fit in a square peg. The other problem, and maybe Prof. Lowe could allude to that, is the fact that we get different results, obviously, because the plant is alive. It's got seasons. It goes through seasons where the certain the chemistry changes, and then the other disadvantage is that we are not actually growing these plants most of the time. So the conditions are not standardized, right? So you'll find that where products like cannabis are most likely to pass clinical trials because you're growing them under standard conditions and you know exactly what you're getting. But in places like maybe Prof. Law, in your experience, how is it that we can standardize these compounds or plants so that they have standard compounds and then be able to become good investigational materials?
Okay, very interesting question. And an experience that I had was with a plant in Jamaica called the lignum vitae. I don't know if anybody knows this plant. It's a very, very hard stem, and it's used traditionally for antiviral effects, and but it's part of it. I think it is a national tree, or the flower. Forgive me, I don't remember which one. Or the flower is a national flower. So one has to really be careful how one uses them, cutting them down and all the rest of it. But having said that, what is important with that experience was that we almost walked away from an experiment that we're doing, which showed that the extract, we didn't take it much further because of funding problem, but the extract, the crude extract, was extremely potent against bacteria and viruses. But it only is effective certain times of the year between September and December. If you make that same plant extract anytime else, it doesn't work. And this was just by chance. We picked it up towards the end of the cycle. And we therefore started monitoring in the next year and found out that was so. So it is something which we have to be aware of. And this is why in phytomedicines, standardization of growing conditions is very, very important, because not only because of the time of year, but also the conditions under which it's extracted. We got to make sure that we standardize the processes, and that is what makes phytomedicine so difficult to manage. and to use. And we sometimes lose good potential because there's poor standardization. So I don't know if I've given you enough information there, but if you'd like to ask me anything further to clarify, I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think you are, but also that goes to the indigenous ways of being, right? So when we do our studies with traditional healers, and Dr. Mahasha will maybe, tell you that we go and we sit with them and we say, even the time of harvest actually is important. They would harvest in the morning, or they would harvest in the, late afternoon, because people don't realize this, but plants are just like us. They are moody as well. They are hormonal. They get affected by diurnal cycles and seasons. So traditional healers, I think, have more knowledge than actually we give them credit for. And sometimes when you take the plant from their hands, it loses that potency, because we are so it's not just about the chemistry, it's also about the spirit around.
Let me just say something else, which I think is a big problem in developing countries. People tend to look down on phytomedicines.
Yes.
Because we have moved into this new era of Western medicine, if I may call it that, and not realizing that phytomedicines were the key medicines for 80% of the world up to 1960. That's a fact.
Yes.
And then suddenly we started, because of investments and commercialization, all the bad talk about phytomedicine. So instead of people trying to do more to develop and standardize and everything, and let me just say here something about GMP. In my lab, one of my labs in Jamaica, the very people, the government that gave approval for some of our products before, insisted now that we must get GMP standards. And it's a whole list of things that have to be done. Millions of dollars, Jamaican dollars. And at the end of the day, if you can't afford that, your projects are not going anywhere. So it's your own country very often which is preventing the forward movement. I'm sorry to say, but that's a fact.
No, it's true.
I'm not saying GMP is not important or useful, but instead of working with the indigenous labs to get to where you want to go, they're imposing this among other standards. And in fact, sometimes you wonder if they're trying to make international drug standards applicable to your plant medicines. So, it is a problem. And I think the WHO, which started looking at it, need to take a new look. And what's happening now in United States with the aid and assistance, developing countries have better start looking again at them helping themselves better, because the level of help they were getting from the United States might not be there. And there's not the indigenous resources in terms of funding from their own pockets that they can use. So it might be now very vital for these countries to take a new look at where they need to go, because you might not be able to do what you were doing before on the path to meeting drug standards and regulations internationally. So I just thought I might want to say that we can think about our own future in the developing world.
Yeah. I feel as if that's where collaborations are going to be very key, because, you know, of course, I'm here in the U.S., and a lot of the funding, even for a lot of the U.S. projects, have dried up. I can tell you right now about 10 different project, not 10, 100 different projects, excuse me, that have dried up. You know, people are unemployed and things of that sort, and very good studies as well. But you know, the other part I wanted to really throw out there was a country that I started to look at for their standardized processes was actually Japan. They're a developing a country, but the way they actually develop their phytomedicine is, in my opinion, very top notch because of the fact that, as we all discussed, they understand the seasons, they understand how to actually extract, but also the crazy thing is, in order for you to get a phytomedicine, a herbal prescription, you have to go to a doctor. It's not just on a shelf, you know, just, you know, in a CVS or whatever. So, but they standardize everything because they are trying to protect the phytomedicine that they actually produce as well, and not just have it just to be overpopulated and just ransacked as well. But back to the original conversation, I think collaborations are going to be what's going to allow us all to really survive in this crazy time right now.
I just want also to say that although in our developing countries we tend to look down on phytomedicines, I don't know how many persons have been to Europe, places like Germany. Phytomedicine, you can go in a pharmacy to get it.
Yep.
And they have made a tremendous success of it, like Japan. So it might be time to rethink. I'm not saying that we are not supposed to continue high-tech medicine, but it's going to be a challenge for the developing countries because people like me have been fortunate to get involved in that and make the contribution. But I don't know how many persons are like me who have done that level of work as an individual and also trying to maintain and sustain it. So we have some challenges. And I'm hoping that Dr. Engwa and his leadership might want to, if he's not there, and because he is a man with great resources and thoughts and so on, but it might be necessary for us to focus on not only this collaboration of seeing how the developed world have done this, but what we need to do to pull up ourselves by our own bootstraps in each country and be part of a global movement to get to where we want to go.
I love that.
Thank
I
you
love
so
that.
much.
Just to say something, agreeing with all that all of you have said, I think we just need to get to a point where, yes, we understand we don't have the capital to support all of these activities. But the COVID pandemic, I think, showed a lot of the capability of the continent when they believe on something, because generally the West hoarded the vaccines. Africa had no vaccines to get to cap the COVID pandemic. But with all of that, people survived because of, generally, if you look at it, the majority went back to what they knew, which was traditional medicines, which they use. And because of that, they survived.
Yep.
And as you say, until maybe 1960s, that's basically everybody was using that, just in the whole, continentally, or maybe in the diaspora. I think we know the value of all of those. That's why deliberately I mentioned a situation where we all did not have medical aid at one point, and we're surviving on traditional medicines, on natural medicines. And I think we need to realize that and just revert back to that, and collectively, with the resources that some of us have, and put something together to just focus on things that matter to us, instead of always being dictated upon by those who have different agendas in relation to where we want to go. Thank you very much.
I see we have run away, we have run out of time, but I want to give each one of you just a minute to wind up, and then we can meet some other time. This is an ongoing educational platform which will come from time to time. So for today, let us just wind up, and I'll start with you, Dr. Brilliant.
Once again, thank you so much. I just wanted to just add to what Prof. Law and my colleagues were saying about the challenges regarding GMP and so forth with your good manufacturing practice. We've got a cultivation license, a medicinal cultivation license. It comes with a GMP license, but when you want to then go to Europe, they do not accept it. So you now have to get what you call an EU GMP, and that costs at least about 250,000 euros to do that. So there are lots of obstacles, and I think we need to move as a movement together to see how we can actually start talking to regulatory authorities or to the governments or decision makers to see how they can actually make it a bit more easier. Like Dr. here was saying that a lot.
Oh, we lost you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looks like it.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I think it's the network. I'll go to Prof. David Keterere. Please say a word. As
A lot of companies have gone out of business and so coming in,
okay,
and we've made this whole thing happen. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Tendwa. So I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I'm glad that this panel has reflected the fact that Africans on the continent and outside the continent are actually trying to do something about their situation using the resources that we have on both our continent and a lot of them which were taken with enslaved people into the Caribbean and the West Indies. So you know, as that I really loved about this panel, I must say, and I'm hoping that I've met new brothers and two sisters, and that we can actually collaborate and move things. I like the fact that, you know, my motto is there are no perfect conditions, so it can be done. Like you know, Prof. Law was saying, and let's just do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to you, Dr. Mahasha, and then.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I've said what could have been the wrap up for me. Africa's got 1.5 billion people. That's a lot of business there if it is all about the money, just to begin with. And I think we need to, and there's a plenty of us in the diaspora as well. So I think we need to begin somewhere, as Prof. Katarara said. I doubt if any other race sees the successes that may come from whatever collaborations that can be forged, that they will say no to it when they see the benefits. There's no way. Just to wrap up, maybe 6 weeks ago, one knowledge holder called me while he was sitting with a patient who lived with HIV for 19 years. And for that past month, she was taking his medication. And twice she went to test and she was negative, to the point where the clinic refused her the results because they are afraid they can be sued, or they are feeling they may have misdiagnosed and all of that. So there is potential. There are meds out there. It's just a matter of those that are where we are, I guess, with the know-how and some with the resources, just need to get together and work on these things for our benefit. And basically it will be for the benefit of the world, because then the value of that will be seen by everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll give you a chance, Dr. Wa.
Oh, thank you. I've done business and created, you know, hospitals and clinics in Africa for the last 12 to 14 years. I have a lot of individuals who always ask me, like, why are you doing these things here? You know, they're in Africa, not here in the U.S. I've always said that I've always seen innovation. I've always seen, you know, my African brothers and sisters as just innovators. Give them a little bit, and you know, you guys can do major things. But it always, you know, was about, for me, understanding how to get deeper into understanding the ancestral plants, the things that have been here for thousands of years and healed individuals for thousands of years. As I said before, I've been in the sickle cell space for over 20 plus years and created things for sickle cell that have been clinically trialed to show beautiful things. However, I always say, however, as we always discuss, whether it be financial or government oppression or suppression or whatever you want to call it, there always are obstacles. So for me, having, collaboration with individuals that are like-minded and to understand that, God put us here for the simplicity of his joy. As it says in Ezekiel 54, he used the fruit for our food and the leaves for our medicine. That's my mantra. That's what I move forward with. That's why when I research to make sure that how these things really work in God, how they're really affecting us on such a deep level. So that's why I'm able to explain it to individuals that the same medicine you guys are trying to create, God made the same thing thousands of years ago. So in collaboration with each of you, I'm hoping to move, our philosophies forward, that we can change the world with phytomedicine one plant at a time. So thank you.
Thank you for those remarks, Prof. Loy.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity of making these closing comments. I want to start off by saying we are where we are, and we have to deal with the problems and the challenges. And this can only be done through cooperation. And again, I have to refer to Professor Engwa, because when he started talking about these outreach programs and discussions, I didn't quite see his vision. And I am fully satisfied that this is what is going to be our future. And the other thing that I want to mention here is that we need to look at conventional medicine. And I want to go beyond just saying plant medicine, say traditional medicine, because that's the broader context. Because not only is it plant, but it could involve minerals and other things in the broader context. And that's what the traditional healers in Africa do. It's not just about plants. So I know, for example, there's a plant in West Africa that I think Professor Engwa was researching, where the sap could be a substitute for plasma or hemoglobin, I should say, and could have fantastic potential. It's there, but nobody after all these years have ever even looked at it. And I hope Professor Engwa himself can say some more about this at some stage. But at the end of the day, what I think we need to focus on is not medicines as drugs per se, but I think Dr. Ware made mention of where I'm going, which is about food and medicines. I think there's a well-known adage, which many of us have met before, which says, or something to that effect, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Prevention is important, maintenance is important, and healing is important. Those are the broader parameters that we need to look at. And as you can see from my presentation of Mediganja and biotech in Jamaica, we did more than just look at drugs. We produce food. And the food was not only preventative, but healing in a different way from what a drug would do. In other words, we need to step back and look at what is required. And we might find that there are certain countries that can do certain of these foods, plant-based medicines better than others, and we look at the collaboration. I want to wrap up by saying that it is important for us to note that there's a African Development Bank which has now moved into the Caribbean, and they have funding for development and cooperation and collaboration. Again, we might have to look out to, and I'm sorry I have to be talking about Dr. Engward so much, but in his views and discussions and where we need to go in September, in that meeting in September in Boston, it might be something that we need to research before that meeting in September and invite somebody from there to be there, because that relationship between Africa and the Caribbean and United States to an extent is something that need to be explored. And I'm just saying this, and I know it's a lot I've said in a few words, but we need to bear this in mind as we go forward. And cooperation and collaboration is a pathway for future success. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks. Before I wind everything, I want to give Dr. Flory, who is the backbone of this program, to say one or two words, and then we can wind up.
Hello,
Dr.
everyone.
Flory.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I would like to thank all the presenters for today. Was very good presentations. It's really inspiring for young scientists as me to hear all these presentations, and also to understand the visions that is mostly shared on the panel. And coming from Gabon, which is known to be the second biggest forest in the world, we have extreme biodiversity, and they have some pioneering work that I'm just like more than excited to kind of pioneer. Like we had like Professor Donatien Mavungu with the IM28, who kind of pioneer in HIV treatment, and there are many other plants that have just not, to my belief, been exploited to the potential that they can. So I really look forward to continuing this course and collaborating with everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, the panelists. I want to thank you. I want to thank all the participants for joining in from all over the world. Come and listen to these enlightening sessions about phytomedicine. And indeed, collaboration is gonna be wherever Prof. Willis, he's listening and he knows, and we're gonna come back to you with the steps, or he's gonna come back to you with the steps moving forward. But thank you so much. Next week is our last session of this first project, but we'll have similar that will be coming through. For those who want to see what has been presented on the slides, the PowerPoint presentation, we have our YouTube channel. Just type Global Health Catalyst Phytomedicine, and every information will pop up. So basically, I think today's session will be up after about 3 days. So keep on checking. Just type Global Health Catalyst Phytomedicine on YouTube, and continue liking and look at the other session, please, if you missed. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you for the knowledge that you have shared. Bye. See you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Go use the restroom.
Right.
Thank you so much.